Hello, New Paltz.
Alright.
Are we live?
Yep.
Okay, I should
So
refresh
smooth
it.
in our transitions. Good evening, New Paltz. This is the second in a series of events intended to engage the community so we could hear from you all about where you're at, what your questions are, what your concerns are moving forward. Looking towards reopening. We're not there yet. I'll go over some details of that in a moment. We got some questions ahead of time, and people can also put questions on the YouTube link chat, and we'll be looking at those this evening as well. But first, why don't we just go around and everybody say hello. So everybody out there in YouTube, New Paltz land, knows who's on the call. So I'm gonna try to orchestrate this time. So when I say your name, just say hello so that the camera goes to you. So we have Alex Bear from Town Board.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
We've got Julie Seafried Lillis from Town Board as well.
Hello.
We have Mayor Tim Rogers.
Hi.
Police Chief Rob Lucchese.
Hi.
And Alexandra Wojcik from the Village Board. And we'll see, maybe we'll get more folks as we go along because some of us were waiting for some new emails to get us where we are now. So just to give a little bit of an introduction and show some folks some resources that are available, I'm going to share my screen and you'll be able to see the village website. On either the village website or the town website, you can click on New Paltz COVID-19 response. And we have a working document that we've been continuously updating since this all began over 2 months ago now. It has lots of contact information for the county and state agencies. Ari, can you unmute Neil? Because I hear Neil is in the house and would like to say hello.
Yep.
You hear Neil?
Oh,
Okay, Neil, Supervisor Neil Tez is here now as well.
yeah. Hi. Sorry, I was in the other Zoom call for a while. Glad to be here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, quick question. Is there another YouTube link? Because I'm getting asked.
Oh, do we need a different YouTube link, Ari?
I thought it should be the same one, but maybe it is not. I will put it in the chat.
I see the one that was on the Facebook event working and got a question, and we've got 2 questions now on that, and there's 9 people watching. So we should maybe just take a second to reshare it because it took a second for us to get started,
Sure.
but it's definitely working.
Cool. I just put it in the Zoom chat so everybody could have it there too.
It seems like it's the chat on that YouTube link is working, but the video is not there.
I see the video.
Oh, you do? Okay, now I see it.
We're good.
Yep.
Okay, so if you, where did I leave off? This is our resource doc, COVID resource doc, which you can get to via either the town or village website. So important links, every day we update the stats on total cases, active cases, and deaths for both countywide and New Paltz. If you click on the link above that, you can get more information about the other towns in Ulster County. And since the governor announced the New York Forward Plan, which is the reopening of the pause plan, and the dashboard of metrics that regions needed to achieve in order to get to the phase one. Every day we've been updating where we are at with that. I'll get into that a little bit more in a sec and show you that website as well. But before I do that, I just want to show everybody. So every day we just dump stuff in here, which is stuff that we get from the county, from the state, from the federal government, from our state elected officials, from our federal elected officials. So it's one-stop shopping for all things COVID. And, you can, just search on keywords, or you can go all the way to the bottom and find a table of contents. But you can go back and day by day, see all sorts of different things that we post that come out on a regular basis. So for example, on the 17th, we did a repost of our social distancing work in the community, as well as our distribution of free masks. And then another big thing that came out recently is the ESD guidance from the state about which businesses are going to open in what phase. So when a region opens, they go into phase one, and there's a list of businesses that will be allowed to reopen, but it doesn't end there. They also have on the site a lookup tool where you can find your business. You can read the guidelines, and you can actually sign and affirm with the state that you've read the guidelines and you are going to be adhering to those guidelines. So the New York Forward website is full of information that comes down from Albany about reopening. So if you go to that website, you can look things up by industry. You can see which industries are opening up in each phase. So you can see that in phase one, it's construction, agriculture, etc. Phase two, phase three, phase four, etc. And then you can see for phase one, they have very detailed guidance for that industry sector. You can read the summary guidelines for that sector. And you can also, and I can't get up there on my screen because that thing's in the way. So let me move it out of the way. And oops, I didn't mean to go back that far. You can also see here under construction, for example, read and affirm detailed guidelines. These are not skimpy guidelines. These are pages and pages of guidance that the type of business needs to read and affirm that they will be following, so they can click on a little link here. So, and right there, the state has a whole process for making sure that businesses are aware of and committed to abiding to guidelines. Related to that, Pat Ryan talked a bit today at his, he does briefings on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Facebook. And he talked about a lot of help that the Office of Economic Development at the county will be doing, tools and resources for small businesses. So we have links to that for businesses. We also in the village started collecting an email list of businesses as soon as the pause began. And that's one of the types of things that we share with our pretty robust email list of businesses. If you're not on that list and you want to be on that list, you can just email me at ktobin@villageandnewpaltz.org, so you can get on that business list. And that's the kind of stuff that you can find on our website. I don't think I clicked on the Ulster County one. They have a pretty robust website with lots of data where you can see the active case timeline that we update every day on our website, and you can see active cases by town. And if you click on the town, New Paltz, for example, you can see that we have had a total of 83 cases with 51 recovered, currently 29 active cases, and sadly, 3 COVID-related deaths in New Paltz. And you can actually click through here. There's a lot more data that you can look at here. Anybody else on the call think there's any other introductory stuff that I missed?
That was
KT.
awesome.
KT.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Hi. The business lookup tool I thought was pretty good on that New York Forward for people
Cool.
who are a little unsure what their business is. It's a great resource. Gives you a 4 or 5 digit code number for what your business is, and makes it a lot easier once you know your code.
So what Bill's talking about is this little tool whereby you can look up your specific business. So like the other day, somebody was asking me about beauty salons. So I looked that up. I selected business. Oh, wait, no, first I had to select my county, because it's not just about, you can play and point and click your way through it. Basically, it doesn't just tell you for the state what's happening with your business category. It tells you in your region where your business category is at. So you get brought to the specific information, not just on a general state level, but tailored to your region, because you need the rules that apply to your region at that moment in time. That's one page that I think is worth looking at, is the state dashboard, if I could find that quickly. I think when I cut and paste the last update I did there, here we go, the regional dashboard. You can look and see what the 10 different regions are, and then you can see where we are at. And right now, we are at 4 days of a needed 14-day decline in hospital deaths. And this one right here, we just got under 2. That was the last metric that we needed to meet. And then there's another one about contact tracing, but it says we're expected to meet that benchmark. So that site also is a nice point and click your way to lots of more information about the plans coming out of Albany. And now I want to stop sharing my screen. All right, I'm having some screen issues over here. And Tim, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Hi.
So is somebody else looking at the questions that have come in, or do we want to look at the ones wherever you can find some questions? Alex?
I have it both pulled up. I think, by the way, with not sharing your screen, it would be nice for everyone's faces to show. It's whoever has the remote.
I can't find the thingy to make it on share. Ari, can you do it to me since you're the creator?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I'm trying to, and I'm having trouble.
Shoot.
Oh, well. So we got some questions on the YouTube. Should we address the questions that came in advance first? What do you think makes sense?
Editor's choice, dealer's choice, whatever you want to do.
So a question we got on the YouTube right when we first got started from someone named Fly Me to Mars is just if we can go to the wine store, why can't we go to the art store? I feel like that's a good easy question to start with.
So my screen's going now, right?
Yeah, I fixed it.
Sorry about that. My brothers are gonna give me such, because I did that in the family one too, and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. Sorry, new Paltz.
So the only question we got so far in the YouTube, I think is easy to start with from someone named Fly Me to Mars. If we can go to the wine store, why can't we go to the art store? And I think you kind of like just addressed that in all those documents you shared. You want to say which one would probably be the best to address that?
I think right now you can do curbside wine store and curbside art store. Rhinebeck Arts, just up the block from me, is doing curbside. So to the best of my knowledge, we could all confirm that. I mean, I know absolutely that liquor stores have been open, but
yeah, I think I saw
curbside is okay.
Curbside, Manny's days and whatnot also as well. I think pretty much everything can be curbside as long as the interior workings are following like the different rules. Like I think that's where the rules really are. And as long as we're all doing our part when we go to pick up, have your face covering.
Right. And if folks, I'll make a note to just follow up on that later and make sure to that indeed what we think is true is the case, that both are allowed to be open for curbside right now. I'll check that out. No news is good news on that front.
KT, this is Rob.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the list of essential
look at you.
retail. I don't see nothing for art supplies. Liquor stores are considered an essential business. I don't see the art supplies under retail. So I don't know if they could be open and selling curbside or not, because they'd be considered non-essential. I'm just scrolling through as we're.
Now I'm like,
I think,
right.
yeah, actually, I think the definition of what they've been doing is not curbside, but instead, local delivery outside or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah. Now I have to look it up. So
yeah.
But there's nothing, to my knowledge, there's nothing that requires any, like for the liquor stores, you don't have to, you can go in and make your purchase. It's not a requirement for curbside. I think retail stores would be in phase one once we get to reopen, where you can do that as a curbside. But I'm just going through the list to see where, what you could say that would be under for an essential business. I don't see it, but I'm scrolling kind of quick for art supplies.
Hey, KT, this is Al. Actually, I have a lot of artist friends, and I know for a fact that both Manny's and Catskill Art will bring out supplies if you call them. I don't think, again, it's not quite like curbside, but locals, they know that if you're an artist and you've been going there a lot, you know them, you call up, you're like, hey, I need some canvases. They'll bring them out for you.
Fly Me, that's helpful to know. Fly Me to Mars just did respond with like a few comments saying you can go into the wine store, you can't pay online at the art store, so you have to give them your credit cards. That might be something we'd have to help clarify for the community, how to not touch credit cards. I don't know. Anything else on that? It seems to be the only thing on the YouTube, and then we can turn to the list of questions we got in advance.
I would just say if people, I mean, we look at these things, as you can just see, we did it right before your eyes on a case by case basis. We hear about stuff, we look it up. You can contact us. Rob is at police is a great resource for that, as well as Corey Worthman in our building department in the village.
Great. So how do we want to tackle? There's 11 questions that were submitted in advance. Just go in order.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta pull them up. If you just give me a moment, if you want to just grab one.
I'll start with the first one. I'm happy to help MC. I might burst into tears at any moment. With regards to the pool opening, and this is a question from Chris S. With regards to the pool opening, is there a way to favor locals and members and limit the number of people outside of New Paltz, Highland, Esopus, Tilson, and Gardner mailing addresses?
You know what, that's from the last one, but we can answer it again, or Neil can answer it again, because people are probably still haven't heard the answer yet. You want to take that, Neil?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's totally a way we can do it. You know, I think in the end, we're going to have to base it on, you know, what's safe to do, whether we open the pool or not. But yeah, if we do, it's likely that we will have to limit it to New Paltz residents, mainly because if the other pools don't open, and we know already some of the other town pools are not opening, we'll just have too many people. And so unfortunately, we'll have to limit it.
Okay, so I'm going to strike through the questions from the first one.
That would be helpful.
So Misha asked the
KT, just I
Yes.
apologize before you go back to the next question. To the first question about retail, there is one. It does indicate you can do delivery for orders placed remotely via phone or online at any non-essential retail establishment, provided, however, that only one employee is physically present in the location. So the art supply store, as long as they have one employee, can, you know, you have to order online or via phone, and that's why you would do the credit card, and then you could pick it up that way. So that those are allowed.
Awesome. Thank you for the real-time answer to the question. Now we don't even have to write it down and put it on our lists. We can check it off.
Yeah, that's great.
But maybe Alex will add a little bit about that in the resource doc.
Yeah, that's what I was making a mental note about.
So that's just like a general retail establishments parameter thing, and one person with those other rules. Rob? Oh, he's mute.
Oh, so I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was just being a student and repeating back to you what you said, which was
Yes, if you
general
go
rule
to,
for retail.
yeah,
One person in the store with those other rules about no transactions, and yeah.
Yeah, it's the last bullet point under essential retail in the ESD guidance that's online.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll make
Thank
sure
you.
to clarify that on the document as well.
Whew.
All right. So the question from our neighbor, Misha, the masks that family is giving out, where were they made? And why does it make a point that they contain silver and copper? Is that safe? It's a very good question.
Does anybody have a mask bag handy?
I'm checking to see if I have a single one left.
I have some in my house, but it's downstairs. Tim, you got that box, or is it at Village Hall?
It's at Village Hall.
I have this one
Okay.
with two
What is
masks in it.
There's masks at Village Hall and in my office.
Right, we want to read, Misha had her question, she said there's silver and copper, and it says so on the masks that family is giving out. Are you not seeing anything?
I mean, you want me to, I have the
She
label.
found,
They're made by the Hanes Company. It's like, it's just underwear.
yeah, I'm not under, maybe this is something different that family has.
That's
So-
what I'm
I don't-
wondering, because I don't
Yeah.
see any of this at all that Misha's referencing on the container that the mask that, you know, we have
Mhm.
been given has, but there is a website, and I will admit I did not look at that website yet. I've just been trying to get masks into people's hands. So I'm gonna look at that right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at this label too. It says mask contains silver and copper. Machine wash warm, use non-chlorine bleach if needed.
It does
Come
say
by
that?
today. Yes.
Where did,
It says it on the label.
oh, of the physical mask.
On the actual mask?
It says mask contains silver and copper. It
You-
says 100%. It also says 100% cotton, or the fabrics touching the skin, 100% cotton. So maybe the elastic includes silver or cotton.
Alex can't find
just
it on
found it.
hers.
Just
You found
found
it? Okay.
Sorry, it really was in there in what, 1, 2, 3,
Well,
4,
I
5,
think-
6 bullet
I think,
point.
this one, I don't know if we can real time answer on this one. This one we may be stumped on and have to get back to you, Misha.
Thanks for stumping us, Misha. We'll get back to you.
I think Tim has a good, I think speculatively thinking something about the elasticity. I don't know. Let's keep going. Okay, this is a long one.
So copper naturally kills the virus. So it's actually good that copper's in there.
So who's the person that asked this question?
So this question is from, sorry, it took me a second to scroll down. I have weird old equipment that I rebuilt just to survive this whole pandemic. This question comes from Dayano Banco. Hopefully that's how I pronounce your name. Knowing Ulster County is struggling to meet the metrics to reopen, what is the plan to mitigate the factors contributing to this?
And then I would say relatedly, also asking, how do you plan to involve local law enforcement to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and also deter tourists? And then also relatedly, will you consider putting a police message display on the thruway and also officials there to educate tourists? And then this part is very long. I'm gonna characterize. It's basically a strong concern about influx of people because of tourism, that other states are enforcing regulations that you can only recreate within 15 miles of your home. Basically asking us, what are we doing to help flatten the curve? and to mitigate the factors they identify as the negative impacts of tourism, and asking again for a sign at the thruway to educate tourists at R2R. Mentions a bunch of stuff that we actually are already doing. So Alex, can you pull up just like our whole social distancing bit?
Yes, I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, Woodstock's also dealing with similar issues. Actually, there was a fascinating study in the New York Times about where people from New York City went based on zip code, and Woodstock was like very big on that map. Protect our community and residents that pay taxes, stop supporting tourists temporarily. That's their assumption, is that we're doing that. And, you know, advocating in the macro to contain and restrict tourism, and specifically asking for a sign at the thruway. So I think it would be helpful, Alex, if you went through all our social distancing efforts, and then maybe Rob, if you can talk about the more law enforcement specific stuff.
Yeah, if it's okay, if I can just read from the most recent addition to our document website and social media from a few days ago about social distancing. I think that's kind of the best way to go about this. So as previously announced, you know, our New Paltz police officers have been patrolling our trails and public spaces while handing out washable, reusable cloth face masks. You know, Mayor Tim, Deputy Mayor KT have been out and about. I've been out and about too, you know, in weird places on the trails, handing out free masks on Main Street and our trails. And a few of us have been helping with that as well. And we want to thank everyone who continues to be compliant with this vital social distancing that we continue to need right now. Those free washable, reusable masks continue to be available at the New Paltz Police Station anytime, 24/7. The address, for those who don't know it, it's 83 South Putt Corners Road. It's where the high school is. Family of New Paltz also has them available 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then Food Not Bombs has been helping out with distribution across the street from Wells Fargo during their weekly meal pickup on Wednesdays from 5:30 p.m. until 6 o'clock p.m. That little window. There's information on social media on how to get those meals delivered, and you can get a mask delivered with a meal as well if that's what you need or want. So what else? Yeah, so we have signs. I'm just trying to summarize a bunch of this all at once. You know, we do have those signs up in various places. We don't have them up the throughway. That's, you know, always a good idea. What else? I think that's about it. You know, continuing to follow like all the, you know, rules and regulations that come down the pipeline to us, and continuing to get that information out in like a bazillion different ways for, you know, everyone to be able to access it, and making sure, you know, folks have access to these face coverings that, you know, we continue to need to help, you know, continue to flatten the curve. You know, a little bit, can I say a little bit about the background? You know, all of our leaders, like we've been continuing these several times a week in the morning, like these emergency preparedness calls with all the different stakeholders, so that we can address all these questions as they come at us during not meetings like this, you know, and continue to take on the information we get from the county and the state and the federal government, and, you know, discuss with all the stakeholders on this call, and, you know, first responders in our community to implement those in ways that work best for the New Paltz community. And we'll keep doing that.
Thanks, Alex. I know we have a limited number of signs. Rob or Neil, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I want to jump in a little bit here, and I know it's a scary time, and you know, we want to protect ourselves and protect our family, And this idea that, we put signs up by the thruway and we keep tourists away, I think on one level that has some attraction, but I think we have to step back and look at it in a bigger picture. You're no more likely to get sick from a tourist than you are from your neighbor. And so the best thing you can do is practice proper social distancing, whether it's your neighbor or a tourist, right? And so I get the impulse to do that, but in actuality, if a tourist is coming up from New York City, based on the antibody test, they're about 20% of the people have already had it there. If a tourist is coming from New York City, you're less likely to get sick from them than you are your neighbor, where we have an antibody test rate of 3% here in the Hudson Valley. So it's not always as simple as people make it out to be. And I think I'm just asking for people to be open-minded and not just, put signs up at the thruway and give into this, I think, very, very attractive idea of it's someone from somewhere else that's coming here and getting us sick. It's everyone in your community, and our job is to flatten the curve by practicing social distancing, and that's what we've been trying to get out as a message by putting the signs out and putting the signs out that along the road that we have. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Neil, for saying that. Actually, as someone who just lost, a very special person to me in my life, I want nothing more than my dad, who's a tourist, to come up and visit and have a social distance visit with my dear old 70-year-old dad. That's all I want. So just want to throw it out there that we'll be practicing social distancing, but he's still a tourist. And so there are all these different scenarios, and we never know what those scenarios are when we're looking at folks across the street, tourists or not. It might be someone's family that they miss very much.
Hi, this is Rob. The only thing I kind of want to add to what the supervisor said is, we do want to be careful not to fall prey to fear. I can't add anything more than what Alex already did. She gave a real good rundown of everything we're doing, but just to piggyback on the idea of tourism, if you go to the county's dashboard, you'll see that the county as a whole meets all of the metrics to reopen. It's not tourism or people from, anybody coming from out of the area that's preventing us from reopening. It's the fact that Ulster County just happens to be in a region that included 2 counties that were, hit tremendously by COVID. And that's really what the issue is. It's not about tourism or what we're doing here in Ulster County or New Paltz as a whole. I mean, we meet the metrics, and I think we're doing a very good job of putting the message out there. And I think we definitely don't want to fall prey to fear and take steps that would really alienate and isolate people.
I would say, Tim and I, Alex, we spent a good number of hours, out there giving masks, and what it was like 3 weeks ago doing that is very, very different from what it was like doing last weekend. It was quite honestly never that hard. People were always, well, not always, Tim will remind me, but nearly always very gracious and appreciative when we were handing out masks. And as time went on, by this weekend, there really weren't that many people. And we had some repeat customers as well. I think it's really important that, and believe me, we discuss this stuff at length. We text about it, we think about it a lot. It's really important for people's well-being to be able to get outside, no matter what your address is. And so we need to figure out how to be able to do that and to do it in a way that is socially distant. And I think we're slowly learning how to do that. The next 2 questions were very similar about, one was very anti-tourist, And another one was a little bit but more nuanced and saying, how can we get more messaging out? I can say that in the last week, a big thing that we have been talking about and had to push in our messaging was literally that a lot of folks thought we were opening up on May 15th. And we were like, no, no, no. And the county executive, we're not opening up on May 15th. And we've been really in all our channels really been pushing out that this is not a flip of a switch, that there's 4 phases, that there's different industries in each one, and there's very detailed guidance. So this, there's more detailed guidance for phase 1 because there's several regions of the state that are already open. So as you move through the phases, there's less and less information. That's because they're literally pushing it out as they have it, as they need it. There'll be regions going into phase 2 soon. So all the phase 2 stuff will be up. But we literally get questions and are going up to the state website to get our answers and see if new answers appear, you know, on an ongoing basis. There was one thing I was going to mention, but I lost my train of thought. As far as having a sign at the thruway, I know we have a certain amount of signs and we talked about it. What was I going to say? We prioritized putting like one on Main Street, I think, and then one out by River to the Ridge or wherever. I think it's on Springtown. No, we couldn't put it on. I don't know, Rob, help me answer this question. Please save me.
We were looking to try to place it down by the rail trail by Water Street. We couldn't do it there. And then just with the weather, we didn't put it out the other weekend, but we're looking to put it, we're going to look to try to put one down by Springtown 299.
So basically we don't have more than that. We don't have another one to put up by the thruway if we wanted to have a conversation about that.
You would need state DOT approval for anything.
Oh,
out.
right.
Well, that's something, you know, we're always open for creative ideas from the community with other ways to get, you know, the word out in ways that maybe we haven't been able to yet, because we are limited in so many ways, being a village within a town with state roads that, you know, are most of our main thoroughfares where the state kind of dictates what's up. Can I just say one more thing about signs and then on that social distancing thing?
Sure.
I've been sharing this with, you know, a lot of folks there, and I know Governor Cuomo keeps saying this and whatnot, but I think it's really important to share the symbolism or the sign of what it means to, when you go outside, to have your covering around your neck. You know, even if you're, you know, a night owl like me, who I take my walk, you know, at 2 a.m. right before I go to sleep at night. And I know I won't see a single soul. I still have, you know, my scarf and my face mask like ready to go as a symbol of solidarity, as a sign to other people that, you know, I care for you all. And I think we should all make sure we continue to do that as a sign.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's a really important thing. And we put that somewhere in our messaging as well. Just like, even if you're not wearing it, you're on the rail trail, you're in your little isolation, your household, your pod, you don't need to wear it because everybody can be within 6 feet. Just wear it around your neck, like signal to others that you have it and you'll be ready to flip it up. It goes a long way in just reducing the anxiety of everyone around you. There was one more question, right?
Yes, and I've started just adding from the YouTube into the spreadsheet, so it's a little bit easier for us to look at one thing.
I see we have more questions on YouTube as well.
Yes, I just put those into the spreadsheet too.
Okay.
So did we get through all parts of that question? I hate wearing my glasses on these things because then you can't see my eyes. So I can't really see.
I think so, and I see a lot of other questions, so
Okay,
I
cool.
should go on to another topic.
Okay, so this question is from our neighbor Rich. Is it possible to coordinate openings, closings, schedules, and other use guidelines between our recreation destinations, Mohonk Preserve, OSI, R2R, Millbrook Preserve, the rail trail, and others? This could reduce concerns related to overcrowding, rule compliance, etc., due to conflicts and differences in their policies during the crisis. So is it possible to coordinate everything between all these different entities is such a good question that I don't know.
I mean, I know they
to answer.
coordinate. I don't want to speak for other organizations, but I know they coordinate on lots of stuff. I don't know, Tim or Neil, do you want to elaborate on that?
I mean, I think they all talk amongst themselves. I mean, they're kind of in the same field, right? So I think that there is a lot of communication amongst them, and I get I think the idea to do this, but at what point does it stop? Do we then ask ShopRite and Tops to coordinate, and the liquor stores to coordinate? It's a slippery slope that we actually have no authority over many of these organizations. We can always ask, but I think they're already coordinating a lot.
I feel like they organically do already. I mean, so the rail trail is actually under the purview, the land trust right now is in charge of the rail trail. And the land trust is also in charge of the Millbrook Preserves conservation easement, right?
Yeah, but they're not really managing it though, just to be clear.
Okay, all right, I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah, they just hold the conservation easement, so.
But there's conversations, right?
Yeah, I don't know that, I would imagine, I actually saw Rich's question and I saw him today in the Millbrook Preserve and I asked him to elaborate and he just, he mentioned that it might be complicated, to get to the bottom of this. And and he said we can talk separately. But I really appreciate his concern, and I think I know where he's coming from. These how to handle overcrowding, and is there a way to do that? Now that Mohonk Preserve is opening tomorrow for hiking, that'll probably reduce some of the overcrowding at River to Ridge, and it will bring people in from other areas. But I think I imagine the Mohonk Preserve is more ready to handle that. They aren't allowing climbing, in case folks don't know that. So that'll be a big reduction in people who are visiting.
We got to get those on the resource doc, and we should add it to our little section on.
Yeah.
Julie and Alex did a whole section on outdoor spaces and places, so we'll have to update it that they're open again and get a link to those rules. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I definitely already started updating the little image, and I was gonna reach out to you, Julie, for help with like the language on that, so I get it right, so that it could be an easily shareable thing, like that people can text to each other, right?
But I think Rich's question is a really good one, and it's just making me think that perhaps, I can help facilitate more discussion about whether it's about messaging, openings and closings. They're still going to be making their own decisions depending on who's managing them, but there could be some better coordination.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I was there today too, the Millbrook, and there's signage there about social distancing, and there's signage at the R2R about social distancing. And I'm pretty sure there's signage on the rail trail about social distancing. And when we got the social distancing lawn signs, they were all more than amenable to having them, and they're at all those locations as well.
Right. Can I also just add that while,
So-
you know, as village and town people, we don't necessarily have jurisdiction over, you know, making this coordination happen. You know, I think everyone kind of said we covered what we can do well. I do know our state representatives also try, like, not that it's under their jurisdiction, but I know they have, you know, had conversations with all these entities about, you know, this issue, you know, better coordination and, you know, all of that. So I there's a lot of different entities like looking out for us in terms of this question.
So yeah, this is Neil. I just want to add one more thing. They're going to have a members only slot of time at the preserve. I think it's from 7 in the morning till 9. So that's something to look forward to. If you're worried about bigger crowds with tourists coming in, you can go up there early in the morning, get your preserve time in. But I think in the end, we talked about it. The real solution is to increase the supply. And I think that's going to go a long way with the preserve opening back up, at least hopefully.
Neil, do you know if that's every day, the early hours?
They sent an email around. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. We'll get to the, I imagine on their website, if folks are interested, they can go to their website and find out.
Yeah, they have, if you go to their website, they outline what they call a phased reopening, and like there's a lot of information. And I know we all got this in an email. I think people who paid their membership already too have gotten an email. There's a lot outlined in this. I'm gonna scan it quickly to address that question. Okay, so in terms of Mohunk Preserve members, in grateful recognition of, you know, all of our support, the Preserve is piloting the member mornings, featuring members only parking at the West Traps, Spring Farm, and Testimonial Gateway trailheads from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. through June 29th, 2020. So that sounds like daily to me. Also due to oh, and then we also got our memberships extended. Nice.
I mean, as a Gen Xer, I'm quite excited about members only. I don't know if I know other people are as well, but it is a blast from the past.
I got the joke at least. That was a great question, Rich. Thank you for that. So on YouTube, our friend and neighbor and fellow leader of the community, Kathy, asks about what is the current gathering limit. I'm asking as it pertains to graduation. Does the village and the town have roles in that planning? And Stana seconded that question. So
Thank you, Stana, for the second, and Kathy for the question. Oh, yes, we've been talking about this a lot lately. It's on our agenda for our call tomorrow. The thing, we don't do that often. I even put it on our agenda ahead of time because of the aforementioned confusion about us opening up on the 15th and then people not understanding the phases, and relatedly in those phases, what does that mean for gatherings? The short answer to your question is the CDC gathering limit is 10 people as per the governor's discussion of Memorial Day weekend, this weekend, which as pertains to your as pertains to the graduation, that's like 3 weeks, you know, which in COVID weeks is many weeks after. I don't know. So when I was saying before that we have to figure out ways that we can gather, and do it in a socially distant way, I think we're gonna know a lot more about that when we get closer to graduation, which I know is just like, to people who want to know what we're gonna be able to do at that point. But right now we're still under the pause. So like today, if it's a non-essential gathering, and it's not your pod, it's not supposed to be happening. So you can go on the hike in the mountains with your pod, wear your masks, so you're ready if you get anywhere near somebody under 6 feet, but it's really not supposed to be happening unless it's essential in doing things like getting your groceries and what the state has deemed essential. And then when that ends, the state hasn't, I think it's like what they've said so far is just industry specific. And I think that's why he started talking about the CDC 10 people rule today. And yeah, that's the best I can do at this point. I don't know, Neil or Rob, I feel like maybe one of you can help me here. No?
I can't really add anything to it. I mean, I'd have to read through what the governor said. Sorry.
But Rob, right now it's definitely, if it's not essential and not your pod, you're not supposed to be gathering of 10 or more people, correct?
To my knowledge, the 10 people were just for the Memorial Day ceremonies. I think he was specific to that, but I'd have to look at that, and something I was going to look at prior to our call tomorrow. But yeah, so I don't think you could gather at this point. I don't think you can gather more than that, but I think that was just for the Memorial Day.
Right. I think I just misspoke when I said that. So
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to look at for tomorrow.
So stay tuned. We know that we're gonna need to addressing these issues and pushing out that information. I do want to say that Ricky Butler from the school district is on our team calls. So yes, we're in communication with the district. Yes, sometimes others from the district, but mostly Ricky. So they are definitely in the loop on our calls, as is, I think a couple of other people in their other questions had asked if we coordinate with campus, and campus is on our calls. And we coordinate with them regularly as well.
Absolutely. And also just in terms of that, the gathering limit, in terms of, major touchstones like graduations, other communities have, drive-in theaters and whatnot. So they've been able to find more creative, solutions, across the state to having something that feels like a gathering while it not being a gathering. So this is where, if anyone out there has like a really creative, really safe, solution that would work for New Paltz, that's, how Warwick High School and some other high schools like out all over the state basically came up with their solutions to these problems. It was a lot of creativity, really.
Yeah, Jen and Scoofus were really pushing the whole drive-in movie theater thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love drive-ins, and
Who doesn't love a drive-in?
right. They've been hurting though for decades. So I think it was really cool that our local senators were working so hard to, find a way to make drive-ins the most relevant, part of some of these communities right now, while making sure like, everyone gets their touchstone graduation and stays really distant, So if anyone has a really good idea, how to get in touch with us. So we got.
I know they did a whole survey with our high school seniors, and they've been doing a lot of work on this. So maybe I'll get Kathy or somebody to send me, I don't know. Or we'll get Ricky to get us. That's what we should do. That's what we should do. Well, we'll ask Ricky and we'll put it on our agenda for Friday. Look at me, agendaing again.
I love it. And Kathy just commented, thank you, friends. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for everything, Sanchez.
Yeah, seriously. We got a great question from another friend and neighbor and a volunteer on our Landlord Tenant Relations Council, Nadia. What about renters? How can we cancel rent? Many people are still losing jobs. This is, for me, the question that keeps me up at night, and is the first thing I think of every morning. So I'm going to share in the YouTube the document that I've been basically pulling out the new Paltz COVID-19 tenant landlord related, issues from our big document into one smaller one and kind of, translate it into millennial speak, and then just add more just basic tenant landlord links in there. So I'll share that in a second. So everyone knows that we really are thinking very, very hard about this issue, for tenants and for landlords. We put out basically we memorialize support via resolution for various state legislation that is out there to cancel rent. There's a couple different ideas on the state and on the federal level that just keep getting floated around, but nothing really yet solidified on the just total cancellation of rent and the things. The reason canceling rent is different and it's important, but it stinks because it's not something that we can do in the village. It has to come from above, is because if somebody can't pay their rent and basically it spirals into experiences that many renters have experienced. Like I have an eviction on my record, so getting a new apartment for me is a big deal. I have to get 5 references, and I'm an elected official, and I still have to get like 5 letters to basically get into a new apartment, usually stuff like that, because I was wrongly evicted in a crazy scenario a long time ago. So we don't want that kind of stuff to happen, for someone to get demarcations basically permanently on their record in these various ways. Even though it is illegal for blacklisting, we know it still happens. It's small town. The state's a small town. So, having that mark against you can really, really negatively impact your life forever. Kind of the way like, you can think about it as the way people think about student loan debt or about like a credit score, something that follows you and basically ruins your life forever. So that's why canceling rent or, finding some way for the state and federal government to create that mechanism is really something so important that we support. So today, in the meantime, since we can't cancel rent, we continue to encourage communication between tenants and landlords. And if you need help figuring out what to say, how to say it, that's so much of what I've been working on. And Councilman Dan Torres is joining me in this effort because a lot of the folks who have needed this kind of help trying to navigate resources, or like literally I get emails just like, what do I say? Helping people figure out how to have that conversation with a landlord, because it's a hard conversation, like I don't know what my future looks like. I don't know if I can pay rent. You fear the response, right? So we're here to like share those links to all the resources, help you figure out like those next steps. The Landlord Tenant Relations Council that we have in the village, such a great group of volunteers who have been helping me this entire time with this, slew of at least one complaint daily since New York went on pause, like a tenant issue. So on the county level, there's the tenant protection unit. So that's one of the links that I will send you if you reach out to me for help. Definitely recommend, submitting your complaints with them, because public defenders can do a lot more than little old me, you know, in terms of helping you out. And just today, and I just put this in the YouTube chat, the Daily Freeman article about it, but just today it was announced, you know, the county is going to be using $150K to help with housing amid pandemic, basically coming up with like a fund to, you know, help folks who can't make rent, you know, to keep us housed, because the fact of the matter is right now housing is healthcare, and it continues to be as such. So I'll share a few more of those links that I just mentioned in the YouTube chat, so they're there, and they're all in, you know, the big COVID-19 response summary document. Did that answer that question?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it did.
Good.
Thank you. And thank you for all your work on those issues, which, yes, are abundant here.
Yes, thanks, Alex.
Did we get any more questions? It's looking like no, right?
It's all I see.
Does anyone have any closing statements?
I see something from Alex, a message from Alex Bear. She
Yes,
says,
I just saw that too.
she says, let anyone know if they need help in Spanish. Alex Bear with the town board is happy to help with rent and rent issues in Spanish.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alex and Alex, I love it. Thank you, Alex.
Sorry about that. I couldn't figure out, my unmute button was like hidden and I couldn't unmute. So I just put it in the chat room. But yeah, if anybody needs help with, you know, with Spanish, with the rent issues, or really any other issues with information or trying to talk to each other and get anything, you know, done, I am more than happy to help.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex B.
Alex B. Alex B.
Yeah, so I feel like this was like a fun meeting. And you know, these were really good questions. And I hope that people, I mean, it's New Paltz, you all know how to get in touch with us, but I hope everyone continues to feel, you know, feel comfortable that these lines of communication are open, you know, and I was really excited that I was able to come to this, you know, because I work during the daytime, so night is, you know, when I'm able to do a meeting like this, because I really did want to share, you know, what we talked a lot about, you know, the inner workings of what we've all been doing behind the scenes, you know, as your local leaders during these unprecedented times. You know, we are pondering all of these questions, you know, together and working on them on these calls that have agendas, and you know, working with all the different layers of government. And you know, if there's ever a question that doesn't seem like it's being addressed, it probably is being pondered and explored and researched and questioned behind the scenes. But still reach out, and we'll, you know, we'll fill you in.
Thanks, Alex and KT, for leading the charge and helping explain more to our community. We can never do enough of this, so it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that, you know, the one metric our region needs to achieve is a 14-day decline in hospital deaths, and we're at 4 days right now. So the soonest that we could get on pause is in 10 days. So that's where we're at. If you want to follow that information, you can get it on our website every day. Neil, Tim, anybody? Tim, you went. Rob, anybody? Last call?
Yeah, so anyone who's sick, don't die on us, right? We want to open back up. It's kind of a joke, but I hope people do get better. We'll get through this, hopefully. And thanks for putting this on.
Yeah. Well, our people should know, you can also see things like our hospital capacity, our ventilator capacity, you know, these things where ICU beds availability, you know, we have that all going on right now. So a lot of the other metrics are all just about the impact on the healthcare system and its ability to contend with, you know, a certain number of cases, and we're well under that right now, and that's why this last metric of declining deaths is where we're at. You want to say anything, Rob?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for doing this, and thank you everybody for doing this, and thank you, New Paltz. You keep being you. Good night.
Good night.
Night, guys.